Yes.
Baruch you knew?
I knew who he was, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
He was nifty. His father was nifty. His father
Right.
was Irish today.
I saw too. So Hilchos De'os Perek Beis. So the Rambam over here is going to discuss continue the topic of character traits and halachos of personality traits, character traits, personal development. Some would say Shulchan Aruch. I believe this is called Hilchos Derech Eretz.
Okay.
So we see some interesting contradictions. He has this perek today's perek. Halacha Aleph. Chayli haguf, those who are sick physically in the body, biologically sick. Teim na'mar masik masik. One of the character traits is that they tasted that was bittersweet, and the sweet bitter.
Okay.
It's one of the things that often happens because you can't smell, you can't taste well. Perhaps the point is that's one symptom.
One can't taste. The bitter doesn't taste sweet. Sweet doesn't taste bitter. You can't taste anything.
Yeah. So I hear that. Okay, this is one of the things that I'm saying apparently. Now that's in terms of physical bodily illness. And then again, some people have an illness. They want to eat things that's not edible. For example, they want to eat dust, dirt, and pechem, which is like ash, right?
I don't know how many people want to do that.
This is called pika, I believe. Pika, I think. Is that what it's called? Kids who eat things that they don't. Pika, yeah, okay. So they don't want that good food. Going, for example, pasta, butter, bread, and meat. And depending on how severe illness is.
You got to be pretty sick.
Yeah. Okay. So why is Ram telling us this? The halachos of healthy bodily health is a different perek. He's saying kach as an example. People who are ill of the spirit, ill of the soul, ill of the psychology. They desire negative characters. They want the unhealthy character traits. And they hate the good positive way. And if they don't hate it, they're too lazy to go in that direction, right? So like maybe the person doesn't hate good food, he's too lazy to eat. That's also an illness. It's extremely difficult for them. How difficult based on how ill they are. Yeah. Similarly, Yeshaya says regarding these people, woe to those who say good is bad and bad is good. Some they place darkness as light and light as darkness. They place that which is bitter as sweet, that which is sweet as bitter. The pasuk says in them, they forsake the ways of the upright, they go in the ways of the darkness. Yeah. This is people who have the mentality that is unhealthy, even unholy perhaps. As Ram tells the previous parak. What is the way to heal those who are ill of the spirit? You should go to the people, the wise people who are healers of the spirit. Now, one way of learning this is the Chacham of Torah, Shehem ready for nefashis, who are healers of the spirit. Or you could say Chacham Shehem ready for nefashis, those wise people who are healers of the spirit. Lav dafka Chacham Torah, those who know how to heal the spirit. You could argue that because our Rambam himself over here is gleaning a lot of these ideas from Aristotle, if you look in the sources. And so, and I heard of Kanievsky from Philadelphia. Right, he's not a Chassid Shirav, but he said Pshat is very from here means Chacham here means Lav Dafka Chachmei Torah. That was his perspective. Okay, and they'll heal their illness by the perspectives they'll teach them. To take them back to the proper path. Okay, that's what's supposed to happen if a person is sick. What if a person knows he's ill? He doesn't go to Chacham to the wise person to heal. Musa, which means chastising or direction in a good direction, they've scorned. Yeah, good. That's what the pasuk is saying. So you have those who b'chalal don't even.
They don't know nothing.
So you have those b'chalal are sick. And you have those. It's worse to know you're sick and not to go to a chacham.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the Rambam is based before didn't bring this pasuk because he's talking about those people who are people who b'chalal don't know they're ill in the first place. Yeah. The case your fuss, where does it heal? The Rambam doesn't just say go to the chacham. He'll tell you. The Rambam is going to tell you over here. He puts in the Mishnah the way that for the chacham to heal the person. Mishu balchem, a person who is very very hot-headed, hot under the collar. Right, he's always very angry. We tell him conduct yourself in a fashion that if someone hits you or someone curses you, or someone does something, should usually invoke anger. You should not feel it. Meaning,
thank you so much. You tell him.
I'm not saying you shouldn't thank you. The point is not Yagish means to feel it, but the Chayr Pash means that, based on different contradictions I have later, couldn't mean the word is Yagish, you shouldn't respond. Yeah. Inside he feels angry. Now, if you feel angry inside, you're divisioning, busting the guy's head, but you're not going to do anything, I'm not sure it's going to help you. So there has to be some internal work as well. But the Rambam doesn't give us exactly that. The Yelech B'derech Zuni goes in this fashion. He's Mamre for a long time. Thereby he uproots the anger from his heart. So
even if the guy beats him.
Well, I'm not saying you should tell them not to stop. That's a good point. If it's a matter of safety, right? Matter of safety, that's another story. The Rambam is over here going with the path that the behavior you conduct will the behavior you express or do is going to change the internal world, the internal personality, which is a behavioristic approach. It's an interesting approach. Because I can argue with you that what about the idea if a person's angry? Think about the fact that we told Hilchos De'os, Hashem runs the world, Hashem controls. The Rambam does not mention that. So now you could answer. The Rambam does assume.
Unless he's saying.
He's not saying that. The Rambam is saying over here, conduct yourself as if it doesn't bother you. That's how you conduct yourself. 1 second. If a person, for example, is very haughty. So we saw we have anger and haughtiness. These are two character traits which are not good, right? A person conduct himself in a lot of scorn and disgrace. Sit in the most inferior fashion on everybody. Sit all the way in the back of the shul, not in the front. Yeah. Should wear worn out clothing, which drags on the earth. Yeah. There's a whole approach of it. The Rambam's Mavazas of Shein who kind of disgrace their people who wear them. Kids, these things. This way, it will train him to not be haughty. It'll uproot the hardness from his heart. Again, the Rambam is saying here. He says in his Sefer Hamaspik, that it's the whole approach that as you conduct yourself externally, that'll impact how you behave internally.
Unless you want to say. He's so proud of himself that he's able to do this, to sit in the back,
and not get bothered. So that's a whole other problem. That's the problem. This is actually a ma'aseh. So we'll say soon, but 1 second. The Yachs derech hamtzoyos, and then he's going back in the middle of fashion. At that point, he no longer has to wear all these.
Then he's set.
So this is only a prescription for somebody who has an unhealthy unhealthy ego, right? Which is a good passion. Once he goes to the middle path, go there all his days, excuse me. Now, fine.
Okay.
Now the Ram told us. Let's take halacha gimel. Let's see. We'll see a bit of contradiction over here. Here I'm saying, let's finish halacha gimel base. But on this line, in this measurement, it's actually to all the perspectives. If we learned in the Perek Aleph, there's different perspectives also. Now we just talked about anger and haughtiness. What about the character traits we said? For example, you have people who are
stingy.
Right. Yeah. People who are very, 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 very sensual, like a lot of passion, like a lot of enjoyment, and people don't enjoy anything. They don't care about anything. Yeah, nothing matters to them in terms of enjoyment. And you have people who are very, very, they're very, very, very greedy, or they're just very broad minded in the sense they have a lot of aspirations for success, right? And you have other people who don't want anything, right? Yeah. Then you have people who, for example, who are very stingy. They don't spend a penny on themselves or somebody else. Right. And other people who money means nothing to them, right? So these are the Rambam does not mention that in this paragraph yet specifically, but he says in general to go in the middle path. Okay. People who are personality, very happy all the time, very depressed all the time, right? People who are very, very, they can watch blood and that doesn't impact them. And other people who right, yeah. Maybe he said the pasuk while he was walking. But yeah, people who are
you have to sit down.
Ideally. They have people who are, for example, very soft-hearted. These are all these ones that says in the middle of the path. This is also the other path in the middle of the path. If he's extreme in one degree, he's frivolous with money, and he always spends. He doesn't hold on to any money. And as soon as he needs to buy some mall, he has a rainy day. He has an emergency. He doesn't have any money, so he should be the opposite. He should be stingy, not spend on anything, and then he'll go back to the middle path. Go there for a long time in the other opposite extreme. Until he brings himself back to the proper path. This is the midpoint between the two extremes of all perspectives. Halacha Gimel. Now we're going to have a bit of a contradiction. There are some perspectives, personality traits that a person is not allowed to go in the middle path, right?
No, it's not. You
have to go from one extreme to the other extreme. In other words, if you have a problem with one extreme, you have to go to the other extreme. So you could say Pshat Rambam is, if he has an issue, he should do this. But you can also say Pshat, the B'chalal, you're not supposed to go in the middle path. We'll see in a second. The Rambam says the whole time he's saying, yeah. There's a famous contradiction. The Rambam, all of them are for sure have a problem with this, but this difficulty with this. What is, for example, the trait you're not allowed to go in the middle path? Haughtiness. The person shouldn't just be moderately humble in the middle path. The person should be extremely humble and a very, very low speed, excessively. Different. Moshe said, Moshe Rabbeinu, Anav Meid, who's very humble. What's wrong with Anav? Moshe was an Anav. The Anav Ma'id. Why Ma'id? Because of this reason. It's not appropriate to be just an Anav. A person has to be Anav Ma'id. Must be very, very of a low spirit. So why is the Chumash not saying Moshe was an Anav Ma'id Ma'id? Yeah. So the Mepharshim talk about it. Okay, so that is in terms of another example why it's so terrible to be not to have an anivus, not to have humility. Is if a person who raises his heart, in other words, he's haughty. He is like he's denied the essential principle of Hashem, right? It says, your heart becomes haughty. You forget Hashem, your God. The Chacham also said, he who has even a small amount of arrogance, right? Even a little bit should deserve to be in chayrim. Which is interesting. So over there in the Gemara, it sounds like the maskana of the Gemara, based on the principles of which I'm going to be passing like, should be like the opinion who says you're supposed to have an eighth of an eighth. Right. The Rambam doesn't pass in that way. Interesting to question the Rambam. Fine, but that's what he says. Okay. One of the Mepharshim explains that it says Hashem said, "Nah, so let us make a man." So is that mean that there's more than one God? No. Hashem was demonstrating humility. But if a person is a Baal Gaiva, he can't imagine consulting with other people. Must be Hashem consulted with another God. So therefore, I'm sorry, and therefore he's going to become kafir because that's a pshat. Okay, so now, so before we explain the contradiction, let's just finish halacha. Fine. So that is the first thing regarding the idea of humility, right? That I'm saying is not just to be in the middle path, as you said in halacha base, but to be in the extreme of humility. You mentioned before somebody who's a Baal Gaiva because he's so humble. Like I can take this and not let it bother me. Let's talk about Baal Gaiva. Because I'm over here from a sefer, where a person was in a boat, and on the boat he was dressed very poorly, and someone else got up and saw him, and he disgraced him in a terrible way. He says he urinated on him. And he says I was very very joyous, not hardy. It was one of the shayim. I got to this place. That being disgraced with that low person didn't impact me. So I was simcha. I got to that madrega. So this is a person who he's very very able to be sort of happy with this madrega without being a Baal Gaiva from the madrega. Okay, but that's the example of what the Rambam is trying to describe over here. Now, so let's finish the halacha.
Imagine he has 60th of Gaiva,
Oh, so that person not didn't obviously in this case. Yeah. Although it's funny, he was able to identify him as a pachas without getting angry at him. Okay, so now let's finish a bit. Let's finish the halacha. And we'll explain this student with the alpha base. Similarly, anger, not just haughtiness, but anger. It's a very bad trait. A person should be extremely far from anger to the extreme. A person should train himself not to get angry, even the things which are appropriate to get angry about, right? Although in Parak Alpha, Chadal said don't only get angry at those things which is appropriate, right? So that's another student. Now that's more like a middle ground. Part of the contradiction. If a person wants to cast fear onto his household, or the community, if he's, let's say, a officer in the community, because if that's the why? But if he wants to impart upon them the importance of something, show a little bit of anger, it impresses upon the person how important it is. This puts him in the right path. But if that's not the reason, then he's not allowed to be matla ima tzibur, to put anger on the community. In fact, the Brahman says Sanhedrin it's also. The Chashuvi says a person has no chilkan haba. So what does he do then? He should appear as if he's angry in front of them in order to chastise them. But between him and himself alone, he should be not angry, just pretending to be angry. If he's pretending to be angry, as if he appears angry, who is not really angry. Fine. So that is what the Rambam says over here regarding anger, also to the extreme. And the Rambam gives more, brings the point out about anger and the essential need of not getting angry. Chacham said, a person who gets angry as if he worships the Zar. This is brought in the Zohar. It's also this Gemara that says something similar. Right. And Tanya Dalton explains, of course, that a person is angry means he forgot for a moment that Hashem is causing it. Right. For Amru, when a person becomes angry, if he's a wise person, his wisdom departs from him, because the person is angry, he can't think clearly. His prophecy departs from him, because when a person's not happy, he can't prophesy. Now, doesn't mean it departs forever, it comes back afterwards. The people who are angry, besides the fact that it's unholy, it's posh and unhealthy. The life is not a life, right? They're all angry. They're always angry people. Therefore, Tziva the Shkakim and Akas. Our sages commanded us to be distant from anger. A person should not even pay attention, not feel even those things which normally would make a person angry. That is the good path. The ways of the righteous, they get insulted. They don't insult back. I mean, not pshat that they let themselves be a doormat. Taka doesn't bother them. That's the vort. They hear the people curse them, and they don't respond. They do this out of the fact that out of love of Hashem. So here we see the Rambam hinting to the idea that the reason why they don't respond is not just because they train themselves behaviorally. They think that Hashem's oneness, they live for love of Hashem, and that makes them not respond. They're happy with the fact that someone disgraces them. There's a certain joy they have because they know that that's a kapara. It comes from Hashem, right? Whatever it is. But the pasuk on them, those who love Hashem, this Ketseis Hashem is like they love, as the sun comes out in its might. What's pshat? So remember that when Hashem created the sun and the moon said, you can't have two people on the same throne. So Hashem responded on behalf of the sun and told the moon, okay, you become small. So we see Hashem will respond on behalf of this person who hears his insults and doesn't respond. Alter Rebbe Tanya explains the idea of like the clarity of this thing really being good. When Mashiach comes, you're going to be zeicha to that. We'll also love it. That's okay. So let's explain this theory a little bit, right? So we have over here this contradiction about whether it's supposed to be the middle path or not. So, and the Mepharshim have a lot to say about this. One simple answer is that Rambam over here is talking about somebody who has more of a problem than the average. Right. But that's not Mashal. He's Mashal to everybody. And there's other answers. One teretz I was thinking, and no one says this, I don't know if it's good. Yeah. But the Rambam is talking like this. Why does he talk about Kas and Gaiva only? What about other things? The Mashal generosity. Or
too generous.
Oh. In other words, Vaisas like this. I'm just thinking out loud over here. There are certain, in Perik Aleph before, or even this Perik Alach days, the Rambam is talking about what's normal and healthy.
Okay.
But there's another madrega, not supposed to be healthy and normal, but to be holy. A person who has an average ego, it's not a zara. But the Rambam is saying that besides for being in the middle path in terms of being normal, in these traits of anger and gaiva, there's another darga of what the Rambam says that you mechuyev to actually go in the extreme version. In other words, again, b'tzad the mitzvah of going in the ways of Hashem, of halachah b'drachav. If you're going to the one extreme, let's say extreme gaiva or extreme anger, you're being over on not going in the ways of Hashem. Never mind the fact that there's an issue of gaiva. Right. If a person is not being over on extreme anger or extreme kas, he's going the middle path. So he's going in what they call he's being kind of mitzvah of halachah b'drachav. However, there's another chiyuv to avoid the possibility of getting angry or being a Baal Gaiva. That's how the issue that's involved. That's involved there. The other traits, if you don't go in the middle path, you're not being kind of mitzvah going the ways of Hashem. But you're not being over any isurim. Over here, if you don't go in the middle path, you're also being over an isur. But Mela, if you go, when it comes to, for example, one person is very, very happy all the time, another person is very depressed. Neither are doing the mitzvah of going the way of Hashem in this regard. But neither are being over an Isser, per se. Which one is worse? No one's worse. No one's better than the other. No. He's always depressed. He's always joking. They're both, when it comes to Kas and Gaiva, that's not true. The person is excessively humble, excessively not getting angry. So the mile in terms of going the ways of Hashem per se is a mitzvah in itself. Maybe doesn't have that if it's in an unhealthy way. But if he's not being even Yisur, Masha'enkin, a person goes in the other way where he's too angry or too haughty, he is being even Yisur. So if he goes in the middle path, he's not too haughty and he's not too angry. So So fine, he's going the way of Hashem. But he runs the risk of being over the issue if he goes in the other direction. He has so inside the other aspect, he's mechuyev not to avoid the issue. He's mechuyev to go to the extreme version of humility. To say it a little bit better, I think that there's an extreme, a person who's extremely not angry in a normal gesunta way. He's pasha a elevated person. You have some people who don't get angry because they're doormats. If you're a doormat. Right. So you're not going in the way of Hashem, and you're not going to be the issue of Gaiva either. But that's not holy. Ram is telling you, beside the normal anger, go in the middle path beside the vart of Hashem. Beside the vart of being avoiding the issue of Gaiva, and there you have to be not just normally humble, but excessively humble. Okay, that's requires more issues. Okay, the anger is a better example, right? Anger. So you can have, in other words. You can have healthy anger. That's the Rambam's art. Okay. Halacha Gil. I heard a Haimish Rav by the Aguda conference.
I got lost again.
In the middle of Perek Beis Halacha Gil. I heard a Haimish Rav by the Aguda Shishol conference say that all of Hilchos De'os, all of mental health, goes in, is part of Hilchos De'os. He said Hilchos De'os is not the Eitz Chaim, but it's not the Eitz Das. Right. It's the Derech Eitz Chaim. Okay, there are, sorry, I said it right. Pardon me. A person should always be excessively silent, always be willing to be quiet. And when should you speak? You should only speak words of wisdom, things that are Torah necessary. We gotta talk about what's important. We gotta talk about the basics, right? What's for supper tonight? What should we make? He said about Rav, the student of V'nei Kodesh. We know, of course, Aaron told us in Hakdama. He was on the Mishnah. He never talked any idle talk his entire life, which is what's Sicha B'Tela? The Zui Sicha, which is the thing most people talk about. Lav Dafka is Surim, right?
That's not okay.
Yeah. Even things that aren't necessary, don't be excessive about. That you can talk about, but not excessively. The Chum said about this. It said, the person excessively talks about it, he brings to an Avera. It's not an Avera itself. It's not Dvar B'Telim. It's necessary talk. But if you talk it more than necessary, it's going to bring you to Navir. It's actually interesting. The Mefarshim say that they don't know the Rambam's source for the fact it was Rav. The Gemara says about Yichem and Zakai. So someone quotes a Tshuva Sagarin where it says it about Rav as well. Okay. And the Chum said that there's nothing better for the body. In other words, even Tzachei Aguf, not just Bechlal. Why does it say the Guf Tevishik? Let me touch it for the Adam. Even the things that are necessary to talk about in terms of human necessity, even that, Shika is the best if possible. When it comes to words of Chachma, even there, this is fascinating. The words of the Chachma should be concise, and the concept should be rich. So say it concisely. And then the Talmud has that nugget in his mind. And then he can take and expound upon that, but he always goes back to that statement, always that concept to remember where it comes from. The guy comes to the Rav and he says, Rav, I have to give a speech tomorrow. It's so good. I can't remember the whole thing. He says, take the whole speech and summarize it to a small paragraph. He says, okay, I did that, but I can't remember it. Summarize the paragraph into one sentence. Okay, good, but still, it's too long. Summarize that into one word. Thank you so much. He goes back, how was it? Oh, it was terrible. I go through the whole speech. What happened? Did you do all these things? I forgot the word. But okay, so the point is that you remember the kitzur. So that's the way they teach it. Some people, they talk, like a darshaner, he dashes for an hour. What are you saying exactly? Okay, I could have taken 30 seconds. But a real chacham says says a big kitzur, and then from there you extrapolate all the ideas. So who should see the chacham v'amru? The Gemara Chacham said, a person always teach what he teaches in a short fashion. If it's like a lot of talk and the content is minor, that's foolishness. This says, a dream comes to talk about something at length, and the voice of the foolish is also with many, many words. Right? That's the Chachamim say things in a short form. Yeah. Halacha hey, right? A way to sort of protect yourself so a way to get chachma is to be quiet. The willingness to not always answer right away or say right away is you're more likely to hear things, right? Learn things, yeah. Okay. For the person not be quickly to respond when someone says something, ask him something. Shouldn't speak a lot. Teach the students calmly and with tranquility, yeah. Without yelling, without excessive talk. The Rambam talks about Hilchos De'os. We'll see. So you should use a small strap, not a big strap. Now, so this is the words of the wise are heard through calmness. When you're calm, people listen to you more likely. So now I'm saying two things over here. Chachma over here now, this halacha hey means more that shtika, is more not just not talking less, but also the way you talk qualitatively is like less intensely. Okay, good. That's the halacha vav is adding because you see otherwise why is he add b'leit tzaka? He's talking about the importance of talking quantitatively less, but so Vaisa is also qualitatively, okay, halacha vav. So that's in terms of ad kan character traits in terms of the middle path. Okay. A person is not allowed to speak with, flattery, chanufa. This is negay also to mental health, where a person, for example, that he's being even isser, it's okay, I'm not going to judge you for it. So you have to be careful. They're about to talk about this. It's one of the common challenges that therapists get. If a person is being even isser, what is your role? And are you allowed to give him musar? There's a chiv of techacha, right? So there's a chiv of techacha. There's the isser. If you tell him. If you say something which implies it's okay for him to do not the right thing, you're giving chanufa. So therefore, you have to be careful. Now the other side is that you have to do your job, right, and you're refuah. So that's okay. But like don't be one thing in your heart, one thing in your mouth. It's fakery. Inside is like the outside, like the guy who wrote a book. I think you're fat, something like that. Social experiment. Everything he thought he would say. But again, obviously, there's also is a no. So yeah, but the point is not to be flattery and fakery. That which is in the heart is the thing he says. It's forbidden to steal people's minds, meaning to fool them and to make it look like you're one way where it's not really that way. And there's very specific isurim we'll say. And even for a goy is usher because he treated him appropriately, and because more importantly the negative midos that it creates in the individual. Kate, for example, what is the issue of Gnevas Das? Zok the Rambam. A non-Jewish person, if he asks for basar shchuta and you give him the vela, that's pashut also b'tzad fooling. Right. Here comes in the kosher butcher shop. Yeah. You know that he's a guy, and let's say neck bar and Yom Kippur, so there's no worry about Yid's going to eat from it. Right. He's assuming it's kosher meat. You punkt happen to have a tray for lung there. He asks, "You have any lung today?" You say, "Here's the lung." Now, derech agav, if you give him the price of kosher lung for the tray for lung, that's a chayyur pashut gneva. But the vart is, you give him, hey, my friend Antonio, I have 20% off lung today here. So you're not cheating him. You're giving him the price of tray for lung, but you're making him think it's kosher. Right. If you say beferish it's kosher, but I'm giving you 20% off, that could be for even bigger problem. But let's say you're not doing that; it's still a problem with Gnevas Das. But that's one example. Yeah, fine. This is interesting. Now they give him a shoe made of leather from a cow which died, and you're telling him that he thinks it's from an animal which is shechted. Since when does a person or a guy for sure care about whether the leather came from an animal or shechted or not? So I don't remember from last time, but I don't remember what I said. I had some shot last time, but he says it would be a very good shot. An animal that was shechted in its prime, the leather is better leather. The animal died, could be got weaker, but mele leather is worse quality. That's the problem of Gnevas Das. Okay, but like you study a person. Here's another example: to ask a person that you want to honor him, to invite him. Let's say, for example, she should come to you to eat by you in your house. But you know he's going to say no. You're just saying it. Good, I have my cake and eat it too. I offered it to him. He said no. I look like I'm a nice guy, right? So that's not allowed as well. Say it 1 or 2 times in the possum that you could. That's a normal thing to do, to be polite and show. But to nudge him, even though he doesn't say no, but you're showing that that's being fake. That's being fake. Because he thinks you want to invite him, right? That's Gnevas Das. And therefore, like you send a lot of matanas. He's not going to send. He's going to send them back. Again, he's not. You are. If you want him to receive them, you really do want him to receive them, or you want him to accept the invitation. He's not going to. You're nudging him just to show you how much you want. That's okay. Here, the brothers, I don't want to be in my house. I don't want him in my house. I know he's going to say no. Perfect. I'll nudge him. I look like I'm a generous guy, a nice guy. He thinks I am, and I get to have the honor. That's the issue. Yeah. So or for example, right? Yiftach what's the next word by Yivud Dish and Makabel? Another example is Yiftach Chavish. Yeah, okay. Opening a brand new barrel. Right back then, the wine was sealed as the best quality wine, because if it was not sealed, it was already starting to spoil, perhaps. So you open the barrel for him, but you have to open it anyways to sell it. To convince him, I opened it just for you. This happened with my showing Heights over here. I remember. I came in, I'm not going to say the product because I want to say what it was. And the guy is like, "Oh, for you, I opened this," and I knew for sure that he had to open it anyways. I could tell. Okay, anyways, so Kedila Fatesi, in order to convince him, Shebishvil Kaved Patsi opened just for his honor, right? Because of all situations, but these are all the different types of Yisurim. Over here, the Pasuk Sidafka, if you tell him, if you walk in and I stand up, and you think I stood up for you. So that's not a problem. I don't have to correct you. By the way, I didn't stand up for you. I don't have to do that. The fact you thought it's okay. That's okay. So that's over here. Fine. So if I told you, if I say, yeah, I stood up for you, I opened it for you, that's a problem. Okay. Or if I open it and you walk in, no. Oh, you opened the shmi, so nice. So I don't have to say no. I don't have to kind of contradict you. Okay, but also even one word of flattery or stealing people's perspective is also. A person must be in a true lip and an upright spirit, leiv Torah, pure heart, called almost any type of trickery, havayis, and deceit. So he quotes from Pasuk over here that I said it before. Yeah. Oh, if I do it, that I want you should be honored. So I don't want you to eat by my house, Taka, let's say, but I'm doing it because I want other people to see that you deserve invitations.
That's okay.
I'm not going to say no, so that's okay, because I'm doing it for to benefit you. Okay. But this is from Alter B'Shulchan Aruch, I believe. Yeah. The person should not be excessively frivolous and lightheaded. The person is depressed and sad all the time. Rather average happiness. The person who is always laughing and lightheaded, being a person close to forbidden relationships. The person should not be excessive, joking, nor should be depressed and always mourning. And the person should always be pleasant and greet people pleasantly. In Perik Aleph, that's how he brings him a first. He says this is why the Rambam doesn't put the halacha of Mishenichas Adam B'Simcha in the Mishnah Torah, because the Rambam always have to be B'Simcha. A person should not be excessive in terms of. So here the Rambam says the middle path is okay. Don't be excessive either way. It's not a mila. When the gas or gaiva, you have to be excessive in one of them, excessively not angry, not haughty. A person should not be excessively. Neshachah means very greedy. Always collect more enterprise. Nor should a person be lazy. I'm happy with just bread and water. I don't need to work. Now I'll do that. Shulchan Aruch, it says, if I didn't know this, he quotes Shulchan Aruch that a person who is poor, it takes his mind away from Hashem because you think about his state. Now, listen, I'd rather deal with the pain of worrying about my next meal than the pain of having a job. You're not allowed to do that. Be of pleasant eye, do a little bit of business. The rest of the time in Torah, that part you do have, you be happy with the part Hashem gives you. But should not be always conflict prone. Or jealous, or always desiring more, or chasing honor. So these are things, again, the person should be an average, be treated well, but not in excessive honor. So said our sages. Hakina, jealousy, batayv and desire, by covering the ornament, seems chased out of the way. You know the guy at the work who's always trying to outdo everyone else? He doesn't have a life. Kol Yishol Dover, the Bach in Yeshiva who always has to show somebody else. Kol Yishol Dover, the guy in the shul who always wants to make sure that he, Kol Yishol Dover, there was a video going on of a guy who was he was in the car because he was videoing someone else driving a Lamborghini or something. This guy thinks that this is life, he lifts it up. This is not what we have. When you correct the Al-Qaeda, the person on the middle path, of every perspective. All his perspectives, his character traits, personality traits should be in the middle path. Shlomo said, make all your ways upright and measured, and that's the middle path. So again, it's a chiddush of the Rambam, or it's unique to the Rambam. When it comes to kas and gaiva, there is a derech in the middle path, but there's also a chiv to go into the extreme path in terms of and that's a bit of a stid, and we explain ways to explain that. The first 5 prakim are all explaining this mitzvah, the mitzvah of l'dames bedrachav, to go in the ways of Hashem, to imitate Hashem, and it means to go. Hashem has a very healthy personality. He's not too angry. He's not too sad. He's not too happy. He's exactly perfect, right? Tiferes, right? Tiferes. That's our job, is to be like that.